Thanks again for having us. It's actually my first time exhibiting here. It's not IDS's first time exhibiting, but personally it's my first time here. I enjoyed a lot of the conversations we had yesterday. People seemed interested in digital technology, and I think the rest of the day, I think there's probably 3 or 4 more digitally focused sessions. So the hope is that everyone leaves here with a little bit of information from each session. You're not going to get tested on anything, but if you do have any questions at all, please don't hold them to the end. Interrupt me, smash the table, raise your hand. Chances are you might have the same question that someone else is either scared to ask or doesn't want to ask. So by all means, go ahead and raise your hand. I have no problem calling on anybody. I have no problem going back. Okay. You see the session description up on the screen. You see it on the flyer and on the board outside. Printing to glass, right? It's always been a difficult product. Some people were scared of it. Okay. It's a challenging product, but I'm here to tell you, there are other people in the room that can tell you, dishwashability is possible. Dishwashability is not a real word. When you type it in Microsoft Word, you'll get the red line forever until you ignore it. Okay, but it's a word that makes sense here. It's a word that we use to describe the process for the adhesion that printers should expect, and then obviously when you sell the product. All right. So who is IDS for folks that didn't stop by our booth yesterday? We're all things digital decoration, right? UV rotary, UV flatbeds, flame treaters. Our goal of our team is to provide solutions. All right. So I'm not going to go into everything that we have. You can see some of the stuff up on the screen. You can see our building right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. Even if you don't own our equipment or are interested in owning our equipment, if you have a question, just want to bounce some ideas off some folks, drop us a line, call our team, our applications team, our reps are always available to let you know what we know. Probably don't know everything, haven't tested every promoter, every process, but we can tell you what works for us, we can tell you what works for our customers, and you'll see as we go through the presentation, sharing knowledge is what makes everybody better. So don't be scared to ask, don't be scared to jump online and post some questions and see where it will take you. As I mentioned, I used to work with a gentleman when I first started with UV flatbeds who kind of laughed when glass came in for sampling. If it was a trophy guy or someone who was doing ornamental decoration, yeah, that's fine, it was going to be on a shelf. But if we ever saw a pint glass or a whiskey glass, he would just laugh. We didn't have that solution at that company 8 years ago. It would have scratched right off. It would have peeled off after getting dump tested for 5 minutes, sometimes less. All right. What happened at that point is we got kind of scared of even offering it. People would ask us and we would say, we didn't have the solution for you. All right. Fast forward in my career, about another 7 or 8 years, have the experience, we have the solutions to give you that dishwashability term. All right. So don't run away from the product. Everyone is already decorating glass to some degree. But when it comes to especially drinkware and some of the flat items that folks were walking around with yesterday, know that you can digitally decorate it with confidence. So at its core, and this is kind of like a 101 type of lesson, we're talking about surface prep. Okay. I'm not going to bore everyone with definitions. You can read them. It might be a little bit difficult for the guys in the back. If you need copies of any of this stuff, by all means, grab my card. I'll be happy to send it to you. All right, but we're talking about surface prep. For us, in our experience, when we take a glass out of a box that someone sends us, and we test the dye level or the surface tension, low 30s, 30, 31, 32. All right. For us, our goal to get that dishwashability is we have to adjust the surface tension to 50, 51, unless it is specified. Some customers would specify a different type of level. All right, then we have to go above and beyond that. Yes, Sean?
How are you measuring dye level from the glass work?
Our application specialist will just use a simple dye pen. All right. And chart it from there. Very easy, cost-effective, easy way to test. All right, and never stop testing. All right? I'll have a slide at the end.
So you're using the pens, right?
Correct. Yeah. So when it comes in, they'll test, right? Glass and plastics we would treat differently, right? Obviously, it makes sense.
Yeah.
However, sometimes different glass, glass has a little bit of differences to it as well. A good example of that is a customer just sent in a second or third batch of product from us, it almost looked dirty to the touch where we could smudge it, right? And I believe it was an AP5 type of anti-scuff coating on it. We couldn't even burn it off, right? But again, asking questions, having those conversations, it allowed us and them to say, okay, something's going on with the manufacturing process of that product. It happened in lot 1, lot 2, but now it's apparent. Okay? It's not the machine's fault, not the operator's fault. Something happened. Really see that on powder coat stuff. A couple guys were showing some powder coat materials yesterday. And no, it can't happen, right? So don't ever get shy of testing. Don't assume that, well, I tested it in January of 2021 and that same testing will be true, midway through this year. Sometimes little changes can occur that require you to change the process. So what can we do to prep the surface? Right. There's a lot of ways. There's flame, primer, varnish. For us, it's all of the above. Okay, it's just not one. Can one work on its own? It will adjust that dye level to a certain degree, but it's not going to get us where we need to go. So all of these working together is part of the process. Primer only, does it work? Again, it can. Okay. You test that dye level. I went online, I bought a glass primer, and we wanted to try it. It adjusted the dye level. For us and what we see, it doesn't get us where we need to go to get the dishwash results. Again, maybe it'll get you some scratch test results. Maybe it will get you your second surface print on a glass or a crystal award that you need. Okay? But it's just, on primer on its own, in our experience, doesn't get you where you need to go. Some folks, especially some folks we spoke to yesterday, flame treat only. Okay. Does that work on its own? Yes, it can. Similar to the primer, our experience shows it doesn't get us where we need to go to be able to sit there and say, hey, we have the dishwash test, we have the durability that everybody needs. Great thing about flame treating, you can clean the product a little bit. Right? Some of the people in the room who already own it are saying, of course, I've got to keep my language G-rated here. But it won't get us where we need to go. If you rewound this conversation to 3 or 4 years ago, the system that you see up there right now, the Pyrobond system, it was only heating the bottle while it was applying. Further testing as we fine-tuned, again, asking questions, understanding, coming to shows like this, heating the glass helped our whole process. All right. So you see a 2-burner. If I go to the next slide here, you see the 2 burners on the system, and that's heating the glass for us. All right. We'll get into Pyrocell in a second. The primer, heating the glass first really helped our results. All right. Again, that just comes from having conversations, fine-tuning the process. All right. If you watch a video of that, you can really see it. It looks like both burners are on in the picture, just the way the glass is reflecting it, but that's not the case. The first burner is on only. All right. So again, primers won't get you there on their own. Our experience shows that just flame will not get us there. So what is Pyrocell? All right, see this? The images are courtesy of Sean in the group at Applied Surface. So we thank them for that. That equation gives me nightmares. Right? I'm not going to sit up here and tell you I remember what those symbols mean from high school chemistry class. I don't necessarily want to know. Okay, that's the science behind it. All right, we'll show some other equations here where I want to put myself in the operator standpoint. Right, I'm a marketing guy. I have a lot of experience on the application side. The science for me is irrelevant. All right, let's test A, B, and C. What are people that I rely on? What are applications people telling us? What can I do to get to the result? Forget the science. But it's part of it. You see it up there. I have a quick summary at the bottom. Right? We're actually changing the surface tension with the Pyrocell. Again, we're back to that dye level. How do we get to that level, again, for us, of a dye level of 50? And this is, again, with the icons, part of the process. Primers, flame, and then obviously the ink. Pyrocell, we know it works. It's a tried and true process. Simple images there, don't lie. Right? That's just a simple crosshatch test. All right. Combine it with the appropriate primer, the appropriate print, dishwashability. That's what everyone's after all the time. We must have talked about that all day yesterday. The next image here is one, again, not to get back to the science aspect of it because I'm not your science guy, that looks like something you can grab a hold of, right? It just kind of fits in the slide. All right. We're adding a level of silicon dioxide if you look at the science of it and get into the nuts and bolts of it, and that's what gives us our adhesion. Right? That gives the surface, that preps the surface for the ink to adhere properly. We'll go to the next slide. We'll show this equation for the last time. the bottom. You won't get quizzed on that. But from an operator standpoint, from someone who might be managing the operations, from someone who's in charge of implementing technology to get us to the goal, what are you after? You're after the A plus B plus C. And that doesn't just mean this, right? Sometimes you hear people talk about ink formulations and what this can do. How about you just test it and see if it works instead of taking someone else's word for it, all right? You'll see it, I told you, always ask questions. Always keep your eyes open to see what else could be out there, all right? We have the examples here. We have the primers that are up there. Maybe in 2 years, there's a different primer that might work better. You gotta try it. If you hear someone talking about it, why not? Try it. You owe it to yourself to try it. They're not overly expensive to try. If you go to an online forum, you might find somebody who's using your equipment, your same ink formulation, and you're just doing something wrong. Maybe it's as simple as changing the print settings. You never know. Even as our applications team, right? We've seen a lot of stuff come in. Just not glass, just not ceramic. Everything from prosthetics to toilet seats for flatbed stuff, right? I mean, you name it, we've probably printed on it. Never assume you know everything, right? You could test, you could try. Doesn't mean, keep bashing your head against the wall for 3 weeks trying it, but don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to come here and ask questions. Again, it's the equation. What gets you to your goal? We talked about how primers won't get us there, or I mentioned how primers won't get us there on their own. I mentioned how flame won't get us there on their own. But we talked about Pyrosil being a key ingredient to that. Okay. This isn't an infomercial for any one thing. It's not an infomercial for equipment that IDS manufactures, not an infomercial for anything that you see there. Again, you have to test. All right, I'm telling you guys what works for us. In terms of Pyrosil, how do we apply it? All right, little caveman, fire's cool. People who want laser equipment, lasers are cool. This guy's happy because we're on our way. Primer, surface prep, Pyrosil. How do we apply the Pyrosil? This is always a great slide because we usually get questions about this. All right. Pyrosil is applied with a flame. Okay. Some people are well familiar with it. People will still ask at shows, it didn't happen yesterday, but it has happened. Can I apply it? Is there a wipe on? Right? Again, sometimes people don't know. They've heard of it. They've heard of a colleague using it for success. Get samples done, understand how the process is completed. When you get samples done through us, we let you know exactly what we did and what we used. Right? No secrets. We want you, if you ultimately buy the equipment, to be primed, there's no pun intended, for success. What's the difference here? Right? You've got handheld application units, relatively inexpensive cost-wise, again, in relative terms, compared to our Pyrobond that you see on the right there. That'll step up in price. What's the difference? Do they all work? Yes, they all work. Okay. However, with the handheld device, you could potentially waste some of the resources because you could use too much of it. I might treat it differently than Sean treats it. I might treat it differently than she treats it. Okay. If you're doing a glass similar to this, chances are an operator. We're all going to focus on the center. Right? If you had a little heat scope on it, you would see that that's where you're getting most of the treatment. If you're going full print width, can you rely on every operator to accurately treat that? Potentially with good training. Hope they're not rushing, because then that's where mistakes come in. Something like this allows you to repeat everything. Okay? Uniform results, lot after lot, operator after operator. Again, there's cost there, but you have to look into it. You have to make the business case for it. Then after you do your surface prep, what are you doing? You're printing on a rotary printer, a digital printer, flatbed, sub out ours for years, and you have to try it. There's our equation again. If you haven't put the pieces of the puzzle together for what A, B, and C are, all right, here they are. We're flaming and we're applying the Pyrosil. Okay, for us, the wipe that we see that works the best for us is going to be a P5 wipe. Okay, again, that's heating the glass product with flame and Pyrosil, wiping the product. Okay, and then we're printing. Okay, we are printing with a rigid ink. Okay. Previous experience shows us if you have flexible ink in your machine, it's probably worth testing. Maybe it works. Maybe you have to add another step if you have a flexible ink or a semi-flexible ink in your machine. What could you do with something like that? Maybe you have to add extra varnish. Remember one of the first slides I showed you with the icons. Varnish can be your friend. All right. Right? Some systems will allow you to incorporate the varnish ink into and print simultaneously, either as a base coat or a top coat. If you have the flex ink, maybe that's what gets you home. All right, but you're flaming the product with the Pyrosil, you're applying the hand wipe, the P5 wipe, and then you're printing to the product. So what are the results there, right? Jerry Maguire screaming into the phone. I don't know if anyone screams into the phone anymore. You might scream into the keyboard, but what are the results there, right? We got a third party test this for us. The testing stopped at 200 dishwash cycles. Doesn't mean it couldn't make it to 250 or 300, but that's where the test ended. 200 with no flaking or cracking. If you send samples to us, clearly we don't have the ability, and a lot of the other folks who might speak today might not have the ability to test 200, very quickly for you, but we can get through a few. I can speak for ourselves. We have an industrial dishwasher that we can test that type of stuff. Maybe you want to do your own test. For folks who print on jewelry or trinkets or things like that, maybe dishwash isn't ultimately what you're after. Do the testing. Put it in your pocket. Walk around. At a previous company, I had a group bought a printer to print on TPU rings similar to this one. Beautiful results, right? Mandrel, rotated, everything was perfect. We must have did 40, 50 samples for them. Bought 3 machines based on those results. They offer rings on kind of a seasonal basis. We get a call back saying, ink's coming off. Did you ever test it? Did you ever wear test a sample? They saw it. No one ever wore it for longer than a day. Okay. We ultimately got them the solution by modifying the surface, but originally they just said, "Oh, cool, it works. It prints to it." I once heard a guy at a trade show say, when it came to digital printing, "Yeah, we can print to that, but it's the adhesion that we'd be worried about." Arguably one of the dumbest things I ever heard someone say. Not a wrong statement. He's not wrong, right? But that was a terrible statement. Right? You can print on someone's forehead. Doesn't mean it's going to work. All right. Do what you need to do in terms of keeping your eyes open. Operate your equipment with your, we say with the lights on. Don't be afraid to ask questions. All right. Always be open to it. Remember, we're flaming, we're wiping, we're printing. All right. Experience shows that gives us the durability that meets almost everybody's needs. Okay. Scratch resistance, washability, dunk testing, even temperatures to an extent. Okay. But don't be afraid to test. Don't be afraid to try. Get samples done. You go to some of the shows. I didn't see it a lot here, just because of the height, and not going to bring all of our big banners and stuff like that. Don't just take stats and things like that at face value. It's a big investment, right? Especially for the folks who would be going to digital for the first time. Make sure you really understand. Make sure you understand how your product would be printed. Just because a printer says it can go this fast or that fast, maybe for your product to get the adhesion and the results that you need to step up resolution, which will slow down print speed. Understand what's involved. Ask the questions, and then you're able to make the business case for it. Okay. We're here to share knowledge. A lot of people were not shy yesterday about sharing what they were currently doing, what was working for them, what wasn't. Doesn't mean give your competitors your secrets on a silver platter, but having conversations and learning from each other is better for everyone. Any questions? 21 minutes. Any questions for anyone? Yep.
Just based on experience, I know that those kind of recommendations work for not only just UV or digitally cured stuff, but also other organic inks of any kind of glassware. Adhesion is definitely dependent on surface preparation.
Agreed, 100%. What happens like this, like even when we market our Pyrobond and our Pyrosil units, it'll work alongside a pattern and shrink too, right? But in terms of testing that we've conducted, I can't stand up here and put it on there, but that's a very good point. So that's spot on. Thank you.
Yeah, do you see any over the covered here is improvements in what I call the scratch resistance of the organic decorating system, compared to, say, a ceramic decorating system.
The smart aleck in me wants to say you can scratch the ink off the hood of your car, right? So,
Exactly. But,
right. So,
but it's not better. So
no,
that's
of
what-
course, of course. Do I see it in terms of ink formulation? I don't know if Bob's in the room, he might be a better one to talk about, you know, what's coming from a formulation standpoint.
I didn't quite hear your question.
In terms of the actual ink formulations, anything coming down the pipe in the future for scratch resistance outside of saying, you know, us putting more varnish in it? Anything that you're seeing from the ink formulation side?
I plan on getting that because pretty good detail at my presentation on 2:30. It's kind of an involved answer, and if you're going to be there for it, I'll save it till then. That's okay.
Is there a question? Lieutenant Blue?
Yes, so what testing labs do you recommend for dishwasher durability?
Outside of the one that I showed you up there, if you email me, I can get you a list of them. I don't remember all of them. You know, none of them are short names. All right, so yeah, so grab my card, shoot me an email. I'll get with our applications. I'll get you a little application team, and I'll get you a list. All right. Did I see another hand? Anyone else? Guys, again, my card's up here. If you have any questions about how we're decorating glass or how some of our customers might be, grab a card, shoot me an email. If I can't answer the question, I could definitely put you in with an applications team member. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, thanks.